run through our board here a little bit. Off chance guys that could potentially be there. Off chance guys. To me, I'm stacking it. McMillan from Arizona, Mason Graham from Michigan, and trying to think of other guys. And maybe two guys. We'll stack them like that. Because I think the rest of these guys, Travis Hunter, he's not going to make it. There's no chance. Same with Abdul Carter. But two guys that I think could possibly get to 12 that I don't think they will. But again, you never know with the draft. McMillan and Mason Graham, those are our first.
And I think as we kind of wait, as we talk, I think Will Campbell is also another name that you want to keep an eye out on. I would say
I'm not a big fan of Will Campbell, to be honest.
Yeah. I think I would prefer Banks, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of the guys that you would think wouldn't be there, I wouldn't be shocked.
Will Campbell could be a guy. So, all right, Cam Ward off the board at 1 to the Titans. We have Shedeur Sanders at 2. We have Travis Hunter at 3. We have McMillan at 4, so that's one of our guys. We have Abdul Carter at 5. We have Malachi Starks at 6. Okay, we're at 7 here. Mason Graham isn't off the board. Is there any consideration here and maybe trading up? Or is it going to be too rich?
I think it's going to be too. I can look at the trade value chart really quickly just to make it real.
Okay. Because right now we have with this board we have Cam Ward, Shedeur. We have Hunter, McMillan, Abdul Carter, Malachi Starks. Once we start getting in this 7, because here's the thing. Do I love Mason Graham so much more than I love Kelvin Banks? I don't. So those are two guys that are on the board here that I think are going to be legitimate candidates here.
Let me look. So we're talking about moving up from 7 to 12?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Yeah. So let me bear with me for 1 second. So I would say that this wouldn't be difficult. I would say that right now there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a 200-point total that we need to make up, and it's just moving up 7 spots. This is where if you had a 4th-round pick, this would kind of come in handy. But I think what you can do, just realistically,
I'd say we wait till 9 if we're going to trade up.
Because you could give up a 5th, and it would make sense.
Yeah, the Jets already have defensive linemen, so I don't know if they're going to go there. Same thing with I think Mason Graham becomes a player.
But no, here's the thing. I think Mason Graham goes at 8. That's my worry. I think he's going to go. Yeah, so here's what we'll do. I think that if we're both playing GM here, my thing is that right now, as of how this team's roster is constructed, it's got a lot of needs. So you're gonna need a lot of picks, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I will say. If we're going through the trade calculator chart, we could probably, and knowing that we're going to have to give up more than what we want, I'm thinking we're probably going to have to give up a 5th this year and maybe a 4th next year. You might think that's crazy, but dude, some of these teams ask for a lot.
Yeah. Do you think we should?
Let's try it. Hey, let's try it. So let's do 7 and 12. We'll swap picks.
7 and 12. Okay.
And then we'll offer a 4th-round pick in 2026.
4th-round pick in 2026 has a 36% chance of being.
Well, let's just see. If they say no, then we move. All right. So we're just going to move. We're going to just see what happens here. Again, I'm just going off of the trade value chart.
They took Mason Graham.
Yeah, I figured, but realistically, they would just be like, what are you coming up for? We're coming up for a defensive player. They're thinking it's Mason Graham. All right, yeah, we're going to take him. That's what I would think they would.
Okay, sweet. So we got 8 here. I don't think they're going to take Banks. That's the next guy I'd be looking for. I think they're probably going to take Will Johnson here. So I'm good with letting this.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Now, if we want Banks, and they did take Will Johnson, if we want Banks, we're probably going to have to get above these two. So let's see. Let's trade
Let me
up with
look.
because
Yeah.
the Saints need a wide receiver, right? This is where I
Mm-hmm.
think if you want Banks, this is a legitimate trade up scenario here because you're going to be, the Saints are probably going to want to take a wide receiver or a defensive lineman. Like I'm looking at their needs right now, and these next two teams, if you're going to want to get Kelvin Banks, I think you're going to have to get ahead of the Bears and the 49ers. So,
Yeah, and I think this shouldn't take too much. Let's see, 9-12,
9 and 12. Okay.
and then give up. I'm gonna say we give up 172.
172. Okay. Offer the trade. Okay. Trade now.
We could try. Honestly, let's throw in a seventh round pick in 26.
7th round pick in 26. Okay. Offer the trade. Okay. We're here.
All
Wow.
right, cool.
Kelvin Banks is the 15th ranked player. That's a complete understatement.
So I would say also for those that are like a Genti fan, if you want to, because to me Chicago is going to be the pick, but they have DeAndre Swift. But again, like I think that there's legitimate threat there for them to add him. But yeah, that's where it's at. So what do we think? We want to go after Calvin Banks?
Kelvin Banks. That's the pick here.
Let's do that. Let's give Marty Ball a guy that's going to move and take over Zach Martin's position. And now, and all we had to do was give up one of our. Oh yeah, dude, we would give up a fifth round pick, a 5th and 7th, just to get Kelvin Banks, a guy that's going to be a 10-year player at guard. Like that's fantastic.
I feel great. I feel great about that pick. Sweet. So I'm gonna turbo.
We're gonna just speed up.
Yeah,
and we're not interested in trading back up into the right.
And I'm not interested in trading in the second round. I think I want to stay because I like the depth of this draft in the second round. So I'm gonna stay here at
Right, let's see who we got. So
TJ Sanders, I'm not interested.
Xavier Watts, I would be interested in long term, but I just think with how this team's constructed, you don't have time
for a safety. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Omar Norman Lott, I haven't watched him, but I heard a lot of good things about him. Same thing with Savion Williams. Xavier Restrepo, I really, really like him. My thing is with Xavier Restrepo is he is a slot receiver. And he's not like a big time burner. He's small and he isn't necessarily fast. So here I'm looking at some guys, like I'm looking down the board. I don't know in what world they have TJ Sanders over a guy like Jack Beach, but to me, I'm looking at that this pick to me comes down between Caleb Johnson and Jack Beach.
Could we see the receiver room and like let's see who's available receiver wise?
I'm not going to take Jalen Walker there because there's no way he's getting.
No, I mean we say that. So let's look at the running backs and the wide receivers. All right, cool. Let's just take a look. Because to me, I'm shocked to have Scadaboo that high, honestly.
Yeah, nah, I'm not interested in Scadaboo. You have Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, I got you. So, all right, I'll run this down while he's here. Right now, when you look at the running backs, you have Cam Scadaboo, Dylan Sampson, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, Devin Neal. To me, if I'm picking here, I'm taking Caleb Johnson just because I think that he has the chance to be a really good running back. But when we just look at the overall picture, receiver wise, I talked about Xavier Restrepo. Savion Williams is a guy who, he's Debo Samuel-esque, but you can do a lot of things with Savion Williams when it comes to a traits perspective. I mean, he's 6'5", 220 pounds. You're not going to find receivers like that everywhere. He checks off every physical trait.
Let me ask you this. Could we take a look to see what trades are available? Just to see. I'm not saying we got to.
We got 50 here from Seattle.
So Seattle's interested in trading up with us?
Yeah. So they got 50.
So they're probably coming up for one of the running backs or the wide receivers, probably. But that's the thing. But like, let me ask you this: would you
I don't think they're coming up for a running back because they already have They have Walker from the kid that went to Michigan State. And
Gotcha.
they have who's that kid from UCLA? Zach Charbonnet.
Zach
So
Charbonnet. Yeah. All right. So let's just see 50 and 44. I want to see if we can get like a fifth back or something because we ain't getting a fourth. Could we get like 173 maybe? Let's see. Could we? And let's see if we could get a seventh back in 2020. Like let's see. See if we could get a sixth in 2026.
let's see. All right, let's offer that. All right, boom. We
Perfect.
got it.
So we recoup we get back the draft capital we used to go get Kelvin Banks. But we actually did better because we gave up the seventh and instead we got a sixth back. So I think that's a pretty good trade if I say so myself.
I like the trade as well. I think you're really going to like some of the players that are going to be on the board at 50 here, and you're able to get another fifth round pick. And if we want to, we can package some of these fifth round picks and try and get back into the fourth round here. So
Yeah.
I'm absolutely on board with this. So
yep. Get our ammunition back. Let's just see.
Okay. And boom. And you want to know what? I like this board a lot. Again, Jalen Walker is not going to be there. But, man, look, to me, I don't think there's much discussion here.
I think Caleb Johnson's the pick.
Brian Johnson's going to win. Or, I'm sorry. Brian Schottenheimer is going to run the football. So we're in agreement. Caleb Johnson's
yes, that's a perfect pick. You move down, you get your draft capital back, and now you got your guard on your Zach Martin replacement, and now you add a dude into the room to help bolster this running back room. So far, I think this is a fantastic draft so far. So now we get into round 3. This is where the fun really begins.
Jalen Royals is a guy that a lot of people are high on. I have yet to watch him, but there's going to be players that we haven't watched in this draft. I've heard a lot of good things about him. You have Isaiah Bond here. Derek Harmon is a defensive lineman. Trey Harris in the you want to know what? I don't know if he'll be here. So I'm not interested in taking a player that's probably not going to be here.
Well, you never know, dude. That's why these are mock drafts. Exactly. We didn't know CeeDee Lamb was going to be at 17. So that's why I say you kind of have to go with how the board falls because each of these are different.
Oh yeah. So
if it were me, I would take Trey Harris just because of the fact that you get another wide receiver. Like, go to his measurables really quickly because there was a point I wanted to.
This guy checks the box with measurables.
Yeah, 6'3", 210. Like, dude, that's a Cowboys wide. Like, this is the thing: is the Cowboys love wide receivers that are 6 foot higher and I think above 200 pounds usually. So, to me, I would think that unless we want to trade down again, I think that Trey Harris is the pick. Now there is the situation where Isaiah Bond, do you go get a guy that's speedy? I would love to have that, but the problem is like,
Here's the thing though, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it, bro.
We could get to 85 with Pittsburgh, and like I'm looking at this board. I mean, if Pittsburgh's trading up, I would assume they're trading up for Milrow. But, yeah, I mean, Royals is a guy that I'd be interested in.
Do you want to try and trade down again? You want to just try?
Yeah, because I like Gunnar Helm. I wouldn't be upset with that pick. Let's see. Isaiah Bond, I'm not a big fan of his. But
me either.
But like Thomas, I've heard some really good things about him. Derek Harmon.
I like Tez Johnson. I like Tez Johnson out of Oregon, but I think that compared to who else is on the board.
Hey, here's the thing, right? We could be in a situation if we trade back to 85. Donovan Jackson to me is a real player in this thing. I mean, he's a very good player, and I think if you double down on the offensive line, you're going to be looking at. Hey, we can play Kelvin Banks at left tackle. That's not out of the question. We can move Donovan Jackson into right guard. You can move on from Terrence Steele, and your starting 5 is Banks, Tyler Smith, BB, Donovan Jackson, and Tyler Guyton.
And just as a heads up, we do have breaking news that Matt Eberflus is on his way to Dallas to interview for the defensive coordinator position, and if all goes well, he will be the next defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, which I have no problem with Eberflus coming back. I think he's a fantastic defensive coordinator. It's just as a head coach and a leader of guys in that, he just wasn't a fit. But I think that's a great fit. And honestly, he should have been the DC in Dallas long ago, but glad to see him coming back. So Pittsburgh. So I would imagine Pittsburgh's probably coming up for Milroe, which I think, just as a heads up, there are rumors that they might take him in round 1 this year. But let's just say he falls. So 85, we're at 76.
I'm going to look to hold them up. I'm going to look to hold them.
Can we see if we can get their 4th? Do you think we can get their 4th out of this?
Yeah. Here's the only problem that I could see us running into is this, right? They need a quarterback, but they're going to be trading up because, there's going to be teams that could potentially be interested in trading up for that quarterback as well. When you look at these next few picks, you have the Patriots, the Cardinals. Those 2 teams I don't believe need quarterback, or definitely the Patriots. I don't think the Cardinals need a quarterback. Washington, they definitely don't need one. Same thing with Cincinnati. Seattle's interesting. So is Tampa Bay, but the Broncos, I'm looking to hold them up because it's a quarterback that they're coming.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's probably what, like, if they're calling, we'd be like, hey, are you looking at Milroe? Or they might not say that, but they'd be like, are you taking an offensive player? Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. So let's say 85 and 76. Let's do.
I'm going to get very aggressive. I'm going to look for.
Let's do it. 121. Let's do a 7th. Yeah, let's do a 7th in 2026. Boom. Let's do it. Offer it. Boom.
There we go. Yeah.
So now we get our 4th round pick. We get a 4th round pick back. So now we don't have to wait as long. We also get so now we've replenished also some of the draft picks in 26 because now we're coming away with not only having a 6th rounder but also a 7th rounder before even comp picks start getting formulated. But that's great. Now we're getting more ammunition for this. But also if we want to trade up in round 4 for a guy that we really like, we can do that.
Yeah, and we now have a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Boom.
So let's.
They took Milroe, by the way.
So we were pretty spot on with what they were gonna do. So
and I love this board because the 2 guys I'm talking about here is Derek Harmon and Trey Harris. Those are the 2 guys I'm talking about. So
yeah,
when we talked about identity, right? To me, if we want to build an identity, build that offensive side of the ball, I'm pounding the table here for Trey Harris. I get it, the defensive line, it's a little bit of a question mark here, but I want to make sure that this offense can keep up with the teams that you're going to be going up against. And I think we're going to walk into the 2025 season, if I'm the general manager, and I'm going to say, hey, we're going to win with our offense and we'll worry about the defense at another time.
I always say draft your offense, pay for your defense. And I think let's go with Trey Harris here. Let's get Dak another receiver to play with and a guy that can pair along CeeDee Lamb for the next couple of years.
And, when it comes to Tej Johnson, right? Here's the thing when it comes to Tej Johnson, a little bit of a smaller receiver, 5'10", 165. I'm not interested in that. Get me an X receiver, and I'm going to roll with Trey. We're going to roll with Trey Harris here as the pick. Now, I don't believe Derek Harmon got off the board. So we have a 4th round pick.
Do we want to try and trade up?
Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about trading up here.
Okay, so let's do this. So let's do pick 94. We're at 121, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to have to give up a decent amount. Let's just see. So I'm thinking we can give up – we had to give up one of our 5th this year. So let's see. Could we give up the 5th that Seattle gave us, 173?
Trade will not be accepted.
It is a 3rd round pick, so we're gonna have to give. So, do we want to? Yeah, do we want to try and wait till round 4 to make a trade on that? Because I don't think they're gonna give up a 3 like that unless we're giving up like a 4th next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's gonna be. Real.
So let's resume until we get to round 4. We'll see if he makes it. If he makes it, then we'll make a trade. Let's go for it. No. Yeah, that's what I figured, but that's okay.
That's all right. I like some of these later round defensive tackles.
And honestly, at that point, like, he would be the only dude I'd be willing to trade up for if that's how the board fell. But here we go. So now we have our 4th round pick that we acquired with the trade down in the 3rd round so they could go get their quarterback. Now, if I'm kind of looking at how this board. This is.
I don't love this board.
I'm thinking of trading down again, but because so for me, can we scroll? Taj Brooks is a guy I want to bring in here. I want to double down on running back this year, but when we get, so here's the thing: is when you get past round 4, it's just a crapshoot. I don't care who you take; it could be best player available, and I think it'd be fine. But who's offering us a trade? Jacksonville.
Jacksonville for 124. Let's look at the players that they might be coming up for. Jacksonville needs a center, guard, defensive interior. And okay, so the guard, I would assume they'd be coming up for Connor Colby or Chase Blunt. Because yeah, that's what I assume they'd be coming up for. Here's my thing. Like I think I have a 3rd round grade on CJ West, but he's ranked as
Hold on.
167.
Where was it? I saw a Penn State guy. Was that Kobe King? Yeah, I like Kobe. I think that he would be a fine addition here in the 4th round. But to me, I would probably trade down. And
Jamal Turner.
Yeah. I mean, I would honestly, like, I don't have a problem taking Martinez out of Miami. I think he'd be also fantastic to pair alongside Johnson out of Iowa. But it's
Here's
just
my thing. What do we think about the tight end? What do we think about the tight end room? We have Jake on his.
What about? There's a dude from I forget his name. He's out of Syracuse. I've been a big fan of him since he's been there. I'm just seeing if he's still on the board. Scroll down. He might have. Yes, I really like Addison. I think that he would be great here. So I'm kind of like, but we could probably get him later. So I'm okay with him. I think that he's, from what I've seen a little bit of, I'm not super impressed. I think that he'll be a backup tight end in this league, but it really comes down to like what your plan is long term. I think Gaddison can turn into something. So if it were me, I'm thinking Jacob Parrish, I think, would be, I don't think he fits the measurables of what they want to do at the cornerback, which sucks. But, and then this is tough because to me,
I'm thinking about taking,
Martinez.
I'm thinking about taking a runner. I'm looking for a physical running back to pair with Caleb Johnson. 6 foot, 232.
Young guy.
Me personally,
let's go with Martinez. Let's give Marty Ball full effect. Let's take Martinez too, and now we're just going to see how this board falls because I will say that you don't have a backup quarterback, so I wouldn't be upset with taking a quarterback to develop in round 5, depending on who's there. So we're just gonna again see how the board falls. So we're at pick 150.
Oh, to me, 150. Kyle McCord. This to me is a blinking red light.
Yeah, I like him out of Syracuse as well. I think where did he transferred from? Where did he transfer from? I had to look, but
he transferred from Ohio State.
That's where it was. Yeah, I'm like he was somewhere.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at CJ West, and I think he falls. I love CJ West. I think he's going to be an awesome player in the NFL. I get, we have the quarterback on the board. We might be able to hold a team up here for the quarterback because, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay wants to come up and draft.
Well, why would they need they got Mayfield. Why would they need a quarterback?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, hey, we like Baker, but let's see if we could possibly draft a quarterback.
So we have, right. So we have 20 picks until we get to our like bundles of picks. But like, again, like I still like what I'm seeing. So here's what I'm thinking we can do. Where was it? I was looking, go up again. I'm sorry.
I love CJ West. I would draft.
That's who I wanted. Yeah. That's I'm saying, let's go with CJ West here. And then we can kind of start, excuse me, we can start kind of taking our blanks or our ammunition and see what we can do. Cause we're going to have a ton of picks. We're almost there. All right, we're gonna.
On the
I
board.
think let's take him before some. So we're gonna take a quarterback to develop, and then
Let's see if any of these guys fit the measure. 6', 205. That could be somebody to look at. Elijah Clark, safety. That's somebody to look at as well.
Yeah, I was again. I because I have a buddy of mine that goes to Syracuse, so he has told me a lot about Clark, and I think that he would be nice here as well. Again, when I say, and I want to be very clear when I say that, I'm saying like for like depth purposes, I don't mean that this dude's going to be an all-pro. I think that a lot of these guys are you're just looking to fill out the roster at this point. But you just got one pick, so I'm thinking, what about Jay Higgins from Iowa? Have you done any tape on?
I heard some good
I was gonna say, like, I think that
here and you look at the
I think let's go with Jay Higgins out of Iowa. I think that because I was just like I'm like trying to look at my 4th and 5th round dudes, and then I'm saying let's go with
Elijah Clark. I watched just a little bit of tape on Elijah
Clark.
I
like him. Because next year you're gonna have some dudes leaving the safety room, so there we go. And then I would say, because now we have 2 more picks remaining, and there goes Gaddison. I was hoping to get him in the 6th, but that's okay. Shit. This is just kind of like you pick who you want and you just live with it. I don't really care,
Yeah. Maybe we can.
Let's take a corner. Yeah, let's just take the corner again. Like I'm not gonna act like I know everybody. All I know is once you kind of get past the 4th and the 5th, it's kind of like you just pick dudes and hope they turn into something. No disrespect to these guys, but
yeah. So
and then the last one, let's
maybe we can reach for a little bit. Let's see what we can do in the trade.
Probably. I mean, they just want to move. Like I was gonna say if they're gonna move up, we're probably just gonna pick up like a 7th or something.
Yeah. More.
Let's just try it.
Yeah.
It's too far of a drop maybe for them, or not really. I don't know why they. Honestly,
maybe this is what we can do. We can get that we can get that 257 and maybe we give him a round 7 for next year. But then again, that might be.
Well, no, so I don't have a problem. Look, it's a 7th round pick. The 7th round pick. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's go to the trade market. That's what I want to do.
You want to know what? I'm interested in this gentleman's trades here. 6'8", 344.
Let's just try it again. Like I want to be very clear. Like once you get to 7, like it's just darts. I don't have a problem. Like I'm not going to tell you guys I know who that, like I won't lie. I've heard the name because I am from Jersey, so I know some of the guys on the Rutgers team. But again, like once you get past that 5th round and some of the dudes that I already know about, kiss the baby. I don't really care at this point. So let's just see what we get the grade. I thought we did pretty well. Anybody in the chat can give us a grade as well.
I think we might get a pretty high grade on this one.
They're pretty low on B+, which isn't bad. I see the problem is how they grade some of these prospects. I think Kelvin Banks being a B- is pretty criminal. Yeah, I was going to say, let's download that. You could share that to Twitter and we can share what we did. But I think this was a fantastic draft. Let's kind of talk about it, right? Let's and then we'll get out of here. So in round 1, we traded down with the Saints. We traded up. We traded up with the Saints. We swapped firsts. We gave up a 5th and we gave up a 7th in 2026. We went up. We selected Kelvin Banks Jr. We get that. We get our guard of the future for 10 plus years, and now our offensive line is going to be cooking. Starting off well with the setting up of Marty Schottenheimer's scheme, or Brian Schottenheimer's scheme, Marty Ball, Brian Ball, whatever we're going to call it. Then in round 2, what did we do? In round 2, we just stuck and put. We actually traded down. We traded down with Seattle, and we got back a 5th round pick, and we got a 6th round pick in 2026. So we kind of recuperated what we lost in the Kelvin Banks trade. We took Caleb Johnson 6 picks down. I think that's a fantastic pick. We traded down again with the Steelers. We got We went back, 9 spots. We got a 4th-round pick because of the QB tax, and we picked up a 7th-round pick in 2026. Now we're in the positives when it comes to us getting assets. With that, we traded down. We got Trey Harris for what was a great trade down. And then in round 4, with the pick that we got from the Steelers, we took Damian Martinez. And then we kind of just went with what we went with. CJ West, Kyle McCord. You get a guy that can develop behind Dak Prescott if he turns into something cool, if he turns into a backup, awesome. Jay Higgins, Elijah Clark, Jason Marshall Jr., and Holland Pierce. I think that all, to me, I would give this draft an A- or a B+ if the Cowboys do that. You get a ton of picks, you get a ton of guys, and you load up on picks for next year if you want to make some moves. I mean, what do you think, my guy?
Oh yeah, I love this draft because we had players that we wanted, right? You know, two players that we talked about were McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, and Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. So, you know, those guys weren't on the board. So we looked around that 9 range, saw 2 teams that could potentially draft offensive line. We traded up and we got a position of value. We improved our offensive line. I love our interior of the offensive line now. Hopefully Guyton can develop. And, you know, you have a very strong interior there with Beggs, Beebe, and Smith. And then you have Guyton at left tackle. And let's hope Steele can start to play a little better football here. And then, you know, you shirt up the backfield here with Caleb Johnson and Damian Martinez. And you got a weapon for Dak with Trey Harris. That is a true X receiver. You got a defensive lineman that I think could be very good in this league with CJ West. You drafted a quarterback, develop him. We'll see what happens there. He can learn under Dak. You got a linebacker, a safety, corner, and then you have a developmental tackle. I love this draft. I really do.